Hey Forster fans, I'm Paityn Tabor here on the Coaches Show with Coach Kat, where we sit down each week and talk about last week's game and the upcoming one. This week we're going to recap last week's big victory against U Chicago, where the Foresters secured the conference championship and got the bid to the NCAA playoffs this weekend, where they're going to be playing North Central. Stay tuned. Hey Coach, congrats on winning the conference back-to-back years and on getting another bid to the playoffs. That's so exciting. How does all of that feel?
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. I mean, to do it 2 years in a row, and really the way we did it this year, to have to, experience some adversity of losing the game mid-season to rip in, and then have to really play at a high level to close out the season was more challenging this year in a lot of ways, but it was just as exciting. I think our players, deserve a lot of credit for how they handled that and how they kind of bounced back from that day.
Yeah, Coach, last weekend, on your guys' first possession of the game, Damon had a 60-yard run for a touchdown. What did that do for your guys' momentum the rest of the game? Because you knew that University of Chicago was going to be a tough matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we were all. It's one of those super surprises. Right? You don't expect your first play when you call a run play to go for a touchdown, and so when it does, the energy on our sideline, which was very intense. But to see that after the defense has gotten the 3 and out, the offense does that. It was kind of a big just release, if you will. And I think for our guys that was really good. It was allowed to play with a little bit of cushion on. Now we didn't feel like we had to be perfect the entire game. The players, and we didn't talk about it as much as coaches, but everybody knew we had to win all 4 quarters to go to the NCAAs, to have the lead at the end of each quarter. And I think when you do something like that, you get that 7-0 lead. Now you're in that situation of like, okay, we can take a breath. We don't have to be perfect. We've got the lead. If we give up a first down or we give up 2 first downs, it's not that big a deal. But then our defense was just so lights out that we didn't even have to really worry about that either.
Yeah, Coach, we can't not talk about your defense last weekend. They played incredible. In particular, senior Alex Bendler had himself a day. He blocked a field goal, had eight tackles, including 6 TFLs, 3 sacks, and a forced fumble. But Bendler wasn't the only guy that played really, really well. You had guys on all 3 levels of your defense make plays and play very well, including Justin Albee, Javen Aquin, Dylan Peterson, and Thomas DeCesaro. How do performances like that help with your defense's confidence going into this weekend?
Yeah, and don't forget Nick Greek, who makes the interception in the 4th quarter on their last drive. I mean, it really was a complete effort by the defense, and I mean they were so locked in all week. Going into the game, we're expecting to see Nick D'Ambrose, an All-American running back, Player of the Year in the conference last year. And, unfortunately, he didn't play in the game. But our intense preparation that whole week really prepared them for the game. And the game plan for U Chicago didn't really change a lot. It's just different people doing it. And so I think for our guys, they just kept building that momentum, and they were flying the football. And I think they were all, like I said earlier, all of our players were just so locked in to make sure that we got that victory. To do that historically, do the back-to-back thing, that doesn't happen in a lot of places, and it's never happened at Lake Forest. So we've been playing football since 1882, and to finally do it, I think, is a pretty cool story in its own right from those guys.
Yeah. Coach, staying with our defense, going into this weekend, North Central averages 58 points a game and seems to be moving the ball pretty much at will. But your defense has played very well all year, and this will be their toughest challenge so far, but that's also to be expected when you make the national playoffs. So going into this weekend, going on the road, what will you need to do defensively in order to keep North Central's offense in check?
Yeah, I mean, they're the consensus #1 team in the country for a reason, whether it's D3 football or the American Football Coaches Association. Every poll has them #1. They've got a lot of guys. They've got a bunch of 50-year seniors who we actually saw in 2018 in their first game as freshmen. So the running back Ethan Greenfield's first collegiate football game was against us. And so they're really good. I mean, they are really, really good. This will not be a 7-0 football game at the end of the game. There's going to be points scored. There's going to be first downs gotten. But what I do know is that our defense in particular, similar to last year at St. John's, is able to fight with anybody. And when they are ready and they're locked in, which they seem to be in practice this week, they're going to give us the best chance we can to win. But they are going to have their biggest challenge. I mean, from a size perspective, from a speed perspective, and to North Central's credit, their excellence in execution, if you will go up against our rock standard. And so those 2 things will have there'll be a tipping point at some point. Hopefully, we can be on the front end of that.
Absolutely. And then on the flip side, their defense gives up less than a touchdown per game. But what do you need to do offensively, not only to score, but simply to just move the ball and keep their offense off the field?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. We've got to put first downs together. And, there will have to be an opportunity or two where we take a deep ball pass or we break a run like we did on Saturday. I don't think there's going to be a lot of 16, 17, 18 play drives going against them. But I do think that there is some things that we do well, that we've done well all year. And, if we can execute at a high level and put some of those first downs together, we just have to try to get the field possession in our favor. I think one of the things you see in a lot of their games is they get a team pinned back, and that team then goes 3 and out. They punt, the ball only gets to the 50-yard line. Well, then they go on and they score on the short field, and then they're kicking off and they're pinning the team down inside the 20-yard line with a kickoff. And so if they do things like that, it's really hard. But if you can get those 2 to 3 first downs, flip the field and make them have to work 99 in the back instead of them having a short field, you give yourself an opportunity to do that. And if you get that 3 and out stop, now you've got the short field in your favor. And that's, if you look at our success this year, those opportunities where we've flipped the field or we've maintained the shorter side of the field, that's where we have our best success.
Well, that's all I have for you today, Coach. So congratulations again on winning the conference, getting a bid to the playoffs, and I look forward to talking with you next week after you guys get the dub this weekend.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Go Foresters!